Hello, everyone. Thank you for viewing this recording of the Prepare for the Fine Arts Portfolio Review presentation. If you're viewing this online, please use the QR code to check in if you wouldn't mind. It'll help us to understand who's taking advantage of the recording. My name is Jason Arnone, and I'm a Senior Career Advisor with the Career Center, and I'll be taking you through this presentation. You're welcome to reach out to me after viewing this anytime if you have any questions. So the Portfolio Review website has a dedicated website for the event, and the URL for that website is fineartsreview.risd.edu. The event is taking place on Monday, April 27th, and the default schedule runs from 12 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and this is a virtual event. We're expecting over 50 organizations, and we should see over 150 students participating. To see the reviewers that are participating, please go to the website, and that's the Fine Arts Review website /2026 to see the list of all the reviewers. Here you can see it over to the right. Each name of the organization is hyperlinked so that you can easily get to their website to learn more about each organization. When they registered, they indicated which majors they were specifically interested in, and those abbreviated majors are listed below. Now, if you're coming from a major that is not featured under the name of the organization, that's okay. You can still try to meet with them. However, you may need to give a brief explanation when you start your review as to why you did apply to meet with them. But do your research to learn about which organizations you're excited about in advance before the sign up or the application window opens up. Consider that you may meet with some organizations that you're less familiar with, that may be in a space that you hadn't considered before, offering you multiple points of view on your work and your feasibility for those different domains. And another step that you could take would be to favorite or click the heart icon next to each of these organizations that you're excited about in Artworks. Can make it easier to track them down in the future. Now, I had mentioned the application window. So when you apply, you will be applying during a 2-day window. Applications open on Tuesday, April 21st, and they close on Wednesday, the 22nd. So Tuesday morning at 9, Wednesday afternoon at 5 p.m. That is your window to make an application. And you'll see this yellow highlighted square to the right, the OCI application lottery guide. This is available to you now on the website, and I'm going to run through it just so that you've got this understood. So here we are going through this guide. First, we start off by explaining what an application lottery is. So the lottery is intended to balance all of these student applications across the available, meaning time slots, in a fair and equitable way. Typically there's more applications than there are time slots. So this is the way that we spread it out more evenly across as many students as possible. And we recommend that you apply to at least 3 OCIs to get a good experience and to get a good response in terms of like the number of reviews that you're able to get with these organizations. And to do this, you start by going into Artworks, and the URL for Artworks is risd.1, 2, and the word 20.com. So you go into Artworks, you click on OCI and job listings on the left, OCI tab at the top, and then you can click on an OCI that you're interested in. These are just demonstration test OCIs. They're not real, just meant to show how this works in the system. So you click on that OCI listing, and it pops open an application pane. And with this pane, you get to use the Apply Now button. Now, when we're talking about your application documents are going to be your resume or CV. And on your resume or your CV, please, please, please make sure you have your portfolio URL listed at the top or somewhere very prominent on your resume. If you choose to, there is the option to submit a portfolio sample. A sample is not a full-length portfolio. It would be a 1 or 2 page PDF that you can upload in your Artworks profile to include in your applications for these OCIs. So that's your resume or your CV. You got to have your URL to your portfolio or your demo reel on that resume and an optional portfolio sample. So getting back into the process here, when you hit that apply button for the OCI, you're given the option to select a resume or to upload something new and to apply. And you repeat this process over and over as many times as you wish for as many OCIs as you'd like to apply for. Now, you will also have the chance to rank your applications. So remember, I mentioned that this process uses a lottery system. And one clever aspect of the lottery is that you can prioritize your applications, and the lottery system will take that into account. Here's what ranking looks like. It's just as basic as there's a list of your applications. The application in the top spot is your top highest interest OCI application. So you'll go into this OCI and job listings page, and you'll click on the ranking tab at the top, and you'll see all of your applications in order of priority. And so what this looks like is that if you need to reorder this, you can literally click and drag to change the order of your listings. And that changes the rank. As you can see in that ranking column that we see right here, that ranking column is just reinforcing how this is all working out. So #1 spot is the highest rank. Now, we've told all of your faculty know that the Fine Arts Portfolio Review is coming, and it will be taking place on April 27th from 12 to 5. But with that being said, you should still always get permission from your faculty if you get portfolio reviews, just so that they know what's going on. Additionally, you may have obligations that you cannot reschedule during that 12 to 5 window for portfolio reviews. And we certainly don't want the lottery to assign you to a time slot when you're not available. So you do have the ability to block out certain time slots in your schedule so that you are not booked during that time. So if you are busy during portfolio reviews, please pay very close attention here. So you're going to go again to the OCI and job listings on the left. You'll click on My Interview Availability on the left, and you'll go to the spot for Monday, April 27th in your calendar. And if you need to click a time slot during that 12 to 5 period, you simply click in the calendar. You enter a description of what's happening during this time. So this is where you're not available. And so as an example, I have a painting studio here that's taking place. It's a class on the 27th from 12 to 2. So I don't want anything booked during that time. And then we can see there's a blue hold during 12 to 2. Each year we see students that book 12 to 5 thinking that they're trying to show that they're available. That's actually not how this works at all. You block out the times that you're not available, okay? Lottery results. So when this process is done on Friday, April 24th, you will be receiving the results of the lottery. You'll find out what meetings you were able to get. And we'll also be notifying the reviewers so that they know what their schedule is and they can check out your CV or resume with that portfolio link that's featured at the top and any optional portfolio samples. You can also always go into Artworks to find your times. So if we click on My Calendar on the left here, this is different than clicking on OCI and job listings. We're clicking My Calendar. You can see that we've got a hold for the painting studio still from 12 to 2, but then you scored a portfolio review at 3 p.m. as an example. Now, you it is very common to submit more applications than what you receive as reviews. So what happens to those applications that you submitted that did not get you a portfolio review? Well, what happens is that these applications are sent along to the reviewer after the event. So for the reviewer, it's great. They participate in portfolio review. They meet with students, maybe up to 16 students in their schedule. And then after the event, they get a packet with even more student information, more CVs with the portfolio links at the top. And so this is a great networking opportunity for the reviewers. And of course, more importantly, we want to serve students. We want to serve you well. So we're making sure that you're getting your materials out to these reviewers. And we're strongly encouraging these reviewers to welcome your outreach if you are to reach out to them to try to coordinate some kind of networking or maybe a meeting or something of that nature. You can also look up these organizations in the employer directory, and you can click on that link on the top left where it says employers to look up these organizations. As a matter of fact, you can do it now before Fine Arts Portfolio Review if you want. We're constantly updating this directory with current information. Now you'll also be able to, on the participating organizations page or the participating reviewers page, there will be a link at the top that shows who the reviewers are that participated. That'll be great to take advantage of. Now, I want to come back to a couple of things here. So we talked about the resume. Please understand that there are resources available to you for your resume or CV, even with examples on our website. Our website's careercenter.risd.edu, and you can go onto the resume/CV link under career resources to learn all about that topic. A portfolio or a demo reel that you may be producing or that you may want you want to brush up on techniques or get some information there. Also, under the career resources link on our website is portfolio and demo reel. And some folks have questions about what portfolio samples are, so I thought I'd show a couple of examples. Here's an example of a portfolio sample by Riley Bloom. And so we've got one view, it shows some different views of the table that they've worked on with a description and the date that it was created. Page 2 shows a really different type of work that they've been doing. And this shows like an excellent range for Riley and the work that they have to share. Only 2 pages here. It's just a sample, but it's meant to entice the reviewer into learning more about them and checking out their full-length portfolio. Here's another example featuring a fine artist with very basic layout. It's just got examples of the work with the title, the medium, the year that it was created. This is all really helpful. I think one criticism that I'd share about this portfolio sample is that it doesn't have the student's name and contact info on each page. So I do recommend that each page of this portfolio sample should have like a header or a footer with full information on you, a link to your portfolio, your email address, any of that good stuff. Now, how to prepare? How do we prepare for this experience? And this is an experience that's a real world type of experience. Like in your life outside of school, you will be approaching people that are curators or gallerists, and you'll need to be ready to have a rich conversation with them, just like the way that you're preparing for Fine Arts Portfolio Review. So you want to create your pitch. This would include things like the goals that you have in mind for this year, um, trying to put all of this together in a way that's authentic to yourself and in a way that you also like are prepared with like a good summary. It's one of the few times that it's helpful to like test things out with your peers to see like how your pitch works. You'll hear some folks refer to like an elevator pitch where, oh, between floor 3 and 6, you want to try to like introduce yourself to someone that's really important to you. Well, this is also like a really great way to start a meeting or a conversation, is to have a pitch that's practiced and really well organized. Having questions for reviewers is also super important to get the most out of this experience. So you could be asking for input on like what your strongest pieces are, ways to improve your portfolio presentation, asking for insights about like how artists support themselves that they're familiar with, best ways to follow up with this reviewer. Those are all going to be really important to learn during this meeting. And technically speaking, when you do have these reviews in the Fine Arts Portfolio Review, it's not going to be on Zoom or GoToMeeting or something like that. You're actually going to be going into the same platform, Artworks, to do your online meetings through Artworks. It's really great. It makes it easy for us to keep track of. We're not trying to track down like a Zoom link for one reviewer and a Microsoft Teams link for another reviewer. Everybody goes into Artworks, reviewers and students, and they're all sequenced together flawlessly. Now, usually when we're talking about like presenting yourself and your appearance, it has to do with in-person meetings. However, as we know, it's also customary to do that through virtual meetings as well. So just be intentional with how you present yourself and how you look. Show that you care. It doesn't mean that it has to be like formal or something like that. It's what is it your style? What is the way that you want to present yourself? Do that. Be yourself. And of course, we've got the common etiquette that we all know so well, which is like trying to minimize distractions and problems that could get in the way of having a good quality, virtual meeting experience. Um, if you are hopping out of studio to take a remote meeting, maybe in advance, find yourself like a quiet spot in a corridor or some room that isn't occupied so that you know that you can duck in, have your review meeting, and then duck back into studio. Now, it's also important to remember these are 20-minute reviews. 20 minutes may seem like a long time, but I guarantee it's going to go by quickly. The platform will help you keep track of the time as it elapses, but think about how you're going to structure your time with these reviewers. You should be setting aside time not only to present yourself and your work, but also time to ask questions, right? Um, so think about how you'd like these review meetings to go. Be prepared to present your work, but also be prepared for a reviewer to ask questions and to lead the review conversation. And following up is the most important aspect of all of this. You can have a great conversation, you can learn some feedback, or for some folks, you won't even get the chance to meet with them. You may apply to meet with them, but not get a meeting. The follow up is so crucial. If you get a connection with someone and you don't do anything to nurture and grow that connection, nothing happens. So please take advantage of an email address that may be shared from reviewers that we'll make available to you. Reach out on social media like LinkedIn and make a point of keeping in touch on a regular basis to keep them up to date with your work and your practice while you're in school. So you want to reach out to the professionals who attended the portfolio reviews. That includes both those you met with and those you did not meet with. Tell them, share with them, be transparent about what it is that you're excited about, and be upfront with them if you'd like to work with them. Use the portfolio review website and read the student frequently asked questions or the student's question and answers page to get some common answers. And take advantage of everything that you need to be ready for this event. So for support, we will be offering extended drop-in support on Friday, the 24th. Remember, that's when you're receiving your lottery results. So we want to be there for you if you've got questions that arise. We have extended drop-ins on that Friday from 9 to 3 p.m. That's an extra 2 hours to make sure that you get time with us. And then on Monday, the big event on April 27th, Fine Art Review runs from 12 to 5 p.m., and we have a Zoom room available to you for virtual drop-ins. That orange link is available on the website, and we'll also be sending you email on Friday, most likely before the event, so that you know how to reach us if you have any last-minute questions or issues. So that concludes the presentation. If you didn't get a chance to hit the QR code, please do check in. Even though you're watching this online, it does help us to understand who's watching this, and reach out to me or anyone at the Career Center if you need assistance or have further questions. And good luck with Fine Arts Portfolio Review.